What's up, YouTube? Ernie here with B&E Adventures Media. Wanted to take a little bit of time and talk about my 2012 WR250r. This is kind of a barn find. I found it on Facebook Marketplace, used, obviously. So the bike's about 8 years old, but it only had 655 original miles on it. So it was a two-owner bike. The first gentleman that had it was a older guy who just didn't really ride it much, maybe up and down the driveway. The second guy I got it from was in law enforcement, and he used to ride it with his son. Still nothing too crazy, maybe, you know, here and there in the grass, but nothing serious off-road. When I first got it home, started, you know, taking it apart, took the seat off, pristine, like factory, you could eat off of it, not a speck of dirt. So, that being said, alright, so now you know a little bit about the bike. Let's talk about some mods. So starting here up front, the front of the bike, I've got the headlight. So I do have a LED bulb in there, just Amazon lightning deal, nothing too special. But two things that I like about it. So for one, it's more of a 5000K bulb, so it's a much brighter, whiter light, allows you to see better at night. And the second thing is that high beam. When you flip that on, it just throws light out like 100 yards or so, and just makes it really, you know, great at night to see way out in front of you, which is exactly what you want to do when you're riding a motorcycle. Moving up further from that, we've got the Pro Taper Evo CR high bend bars. I wouldn't say this is a must-have, but for the price, it does make it a lot more ergonomic. And also, when you're standing up on the bike, it just kind of raises those bars up a little bit, makes it easier to, you know, to stay up there for extended periods of time. On those, I have the Pro Taper pillow top grips, which if you're doing the bars, I definitely recommend the grips. They help a lot with vibrations. Can't tell you how many times, almost every ride, we'd be out riding some, you know, difficult terrain, get home, still feeling the vibration in my hands. With these, not a thing. Definitely worth the upgrade. In front of that, I've got the Zeta EXE Handguards. So it has the aluminum kind of low bend bar here, handguards up front, and then probably can't catch this on camera, but I've got the integrated turn signals. So there's a company that makes an electronic device that'll slow the turn signal blinking down, but if you just do the signals themselves, they do blink faster. Nothing too crazy, it's not going to get anybody into an epileptic shock, but works for me. So definitely must have, especially if you're riding off-road. Last thing you need is, you know, something to come smack you in the hand or try to rip the bars out of your hand, something like that. Up top, I've got the Doubletake Mirrors. So these are pretty beaten up. They've definitely seen some action. Still holding up strong, just like as they were brand new. No cracks on the glass, anything like that. The thing I really like about these is they're just so, you know, maneuverable. You can flip them out of the way, put them at any angle you want. Definitely worth an upgrade. They're a little more on the expensive side, but if you do a lot of off-road riding, it's worth it. Got a little USB power switch in here. This is pretty simple. It just hooks directly up to the battery. There's an inline fuse. It's not on ignition. I just have it for plugging my phone and when I'm riding. If you do keep anything plugged in, just be mindful because it will drain your battery. Something to be careful about there. On the right side of the bike here, you can't really see it from that angle, but I've got the Flatlands Racing knockoff. It's not actually Flatlands, but it looks just like theirs. Aluminum Radiator Guard. This is just another Amazon deal. Same with the skid plate down there. It's also a knockoff of the Flatlands Racing from Amazon. They're both aluminum. For the price, just good insurance, definitely worth it. If you're riding on the trails, you don't want to run over anything that, you know, might bust up your crankcase or cause you to leak oil over the place, especially out in the middle of nowhere. Giantloop Diablo Pro tank bag. This thing is great. It's an expensive bag, but it is worth every penny. For one, when you're standing up on the bike, it doesn't get in the way. You can kind of see it's kind of angled up here a little bit. So as you're standing, you can almost lean up against it. It just really doesn't get in the way at all. And for two, it has a pretty good amount of capacity. With this bag, I don't need to wear a backpack. I don't need, you know, a tail bag. I don't need any kind of extra storage. You know, at least for just being out riding in the day. Throw a water bottle in there, maybe a couple snack bars, good to go. The other thing I like about it here is this kind of zips down and the whole bag flips over to the side. So not all bags do that, but this makes it really easy when you're fueling up, just to be able to get it out of the way, get to your fuel tank. Speaking of fuel tank, so this is the IMS 3-gallon fuel tank. As you probably know, the WR250r comes factory with a 1-gallon fuel tank, and even though it gets about 70 or so miles of the gallon, it's just not great capacity. So I would say this is definitely one of your top mods. Get the bike. One of the first things to do is the fuel tank, especially if you're going to be out riding for extended periods or majority of the day. Moving on down here, so a couple popular things with these. I did the AIS Block off, and really that's more of an emissions thing. And once you get rid of the factory exhaust, it doesn't do anything anyway, so it's kind of just more of a weight savings. So I just got a eBay kit to just put a block plate on there, get rid of the factory hoses and whatnot. EXUP Eliminator is in there as well, since once again you're kind of out of the factory exhaust, don't really need it. On the other side of the bike, I do have the FMF Racing Q4 quiet exhaust. Pretty great weight savings over factory. It's a little bit louder, but just for the weight savings alone, it's worth it. Easy to install, literally just slips right on, get a little copper RTV in there, bolt it up, and you're good to go. Moving on, the other side of the bike here. So I do have a no-toil Superflow air filter in there. Factory filter's pretty good, but the no-toil just gives a little extra flow, maybe, let the bike make a little more power. On the back here, I do have the DRC Fender Eliminator. These are in smoke, as well as the turn signals. So it doesn't really affect visibility at all. Just gives it a nice clean look back here and gets rid of that giant factory tail wing and all the weight that goes along with it. Okay, moving on to tires. These are the Dunlop D606. I'm running the same front and rear. A lot of people do like to run the Pirelli MT21 up front and the D606 out back. For me, I'm just running D606s on both. Pretty happy with them so far. The front is slightly wider than factory, but still, if you're running any kind of soft terrain, sand, anything like that, mud, definitely worth having these knobbier tires. The 50/50 tires that come on a bike from factory just do not do great in those kinds of environments. So on the rear, I do have a Motion Pro rim lock. As we air down, that just helps make sure that the tire stays seated on the rim. I'm also running the Michelin heavy-duty tubes inside because the last thing when you're riding out in the middle of nowhere is to be stranded because of a tire issue or tube issue, and we don't carry spares, so that's a great thing to have, just a little more resilient. And that pretty much wraps up the mods for the bike to date. So as it goes with many of these hobbies, it's never quite done, so still a work in progress, but I've got pretty much everything done that I want done to it for now. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.